Welcome to the
Inspiring Purpose Podcast. We are so excited that you're here. We're going to be coming every single week with inspiration to help you get through the week and make it through your day. So tune in, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share right now because we're going to be filling your time when you're going to the gym, when you're driving in your car, when you're sitting in the office and you don't have anything to do and you want to tune in and get inspired. This is your place right here.
Get some inspiration.
Yeah. So what we're going to be doing over the course of the year, every single week, is finding people who have stories where they've overcome insurmountable odds and surmounted them.
Yes.
They've turned their tragedy into triumph.
And these are everyday people. Everyday people.
Just like you and I.
Just like you and I.
But they found a way to overcome the odds to fulfill the purpose that God has placed on their life.
Found a way to just put the next foot in front of the other.
That's right.
You know?
And I don't know about you, but life is challenges. Life has obstacles. Life has adversity. And there's all kinds of things that discourage us on a daily basis, weekly basis, the culture, the times we're living in right now. And we want to bring a dose of fresh air. We want to bring some inspiration. Now you may be thinking, well, okay, inspiration sounds good, but how's that going to give me something sustainable? The word defined, inspiration, is literally inspiro in Latin. And it means to breathe into. So when you think about this, many times in life, the obstacles make us feel deflated. But God wants us to be inspired. He wants to breathe life into us. And we want to be a vessel to help that happen. So we're going to be doing interviews. We're going to find people with incredible stories that you may have never heard of.
And even just sharing our story.
Exactly. So our first episodes, first two, it's going to be her and I's story. And we're going to get a chance to share all the nitty gritty with you. And we're going to leave you wondering, man, how did they overcome that?
How in the world?
And at the end of the day, you'll get a chance to connect with us on that level. So you got to tune in. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share if you haven't done so already. So what are you most inspired? What are you most inspired about when you think about this particular podcast and starting this?
You know, I'm most inspired. Well, first of all, you know the way that I'm wired. You know that anytime I hear inspiration just does something crazy within me. Like I feel like I can just run through a brick wall. And it helps me no matter what I'm going through. If I can hear somebody's story, you know, something that somebody has walked through, and you're able to say, you know what, like if they can do it, I can do it.
That's good.
Like I can get through this.
That's right.
I'm still alive. I can get through it.
That's right. Yeah. So I think when you think about that, what does that do for you? When you hear someone else's story and you may be in the middle of a hardship or a hard time, what does that literally do for you?
It really just encourages me. It encourages me, and it makes me feel connected, like I'm not alone. You know, I remember hearing a wise soul, Oprah, used to always say, you can always find a part of your story in someone else's story.
Yes.
Like no matter how great or how bad, you literally can connect with each human being on some type of level by listening to their story.
Yeah, one of my good friends said, never share a story without making a point, and never make a point without sharing a story. And the beautiful thing about story is that, just like you said, we can always find ourselves in the story.
That's true.
So instead of someone telling the story, you get to actually live the story through your own perspective, your own lens. And that's what we're going to get a chance to do here on the Inspiring Purpose Podcast. So our goal is for you to be inspired and filled with purpose through this podcast on a weekly basis. So again, like, subscribe, and share. Tune in every week. We're going to be having some incredible guests coming up. We're looking forward to the content that we're going to be covering soon.
All right. Well, I like to dive right in, you know.
Come on now. Okay.
Mr. Mondoe Davis.
You going to say my middle name, though?
I said the middle name, Ramon.
Dang, you going to repeat it, though? She put my middle name on blast.
Ramon is cute.
All right, so here's the deal. If you're going to say my middle name.
No, don't.
Listen.
Don't.
Look, she going to say my middle name so the whole world can know what my middle name is. You got to at least say, you got to roll the R.
Okay.
If you're going to say, you got to. No, you got to really roll.
I can't.
Yeah, roll that R. Like, you know how.
Ramon.
There you go. I'll take that. Yeah, that's good. I'll take that. That's good.
All right, so please, start us off. I don't even know. Your journey is it has so many different components and so many different facets.
Yeah.
So many points of inspiration. Like where would you like to start to take us?
You tell me. I mean, I could share any part of my story. I could start from the beginning and basically kind of walk you through. So
that sounds good.
All right. So basically, I was raised by first sergeant in the Army, and my mother is and was a correctional officer in a maximum security facility. Wow. And my dad's about 6'2", all muscle. Mom 5'2", all pit bull.
Yeah, she don't play, y'all. She don't play.
So you can imagine how much fun it was growing up as the oldest of 3 boys. Okay, very, very disciplinarian, structured home, but the most encouraging and supportive atmosphere that you will ever experience in your entire life. So I'm so grateful for that. And traveling the world as a child, we were taught to be leaders, never meet a stranger, always find a way to blend in and find new atmospheres and communities and connect with people very, very quickly. So God gave me the ability to begin to connect with people very quickly and never meet a stranger. And I have friends everywhere as a result of that. Wow. And you learn leadership lessons very, very quickly because you have to adapt. Yeah. And you have to be used to being in new environments and learning new skills and learning new cultures all the time. So growing up, I was always in athletics, and I began to play everything from basketball. I originally wanted to be in the NBA, and I realized that I was not.
You're pretty good at basketball.
I can play. I think I'm okay. I can hold my own.
Especially when you get like that focused shot. That's why I'm like when I play against you, you hype. Because I got that hardcore defense.
Oh, is that right? You do. That's right.
I may not be able to make the shot.
Yeah.
But I got some hardcore defense.
You do have some good defense, though. I got to admit, I get a little intimidated when you're on the court. So I got to back up and shoot that 3-pointer game, that old man game. But I was really adamant about playing in the NBA. And when I was 14 years old, me and my buddy were seeing who could jump the highest. Those outdoor bus stops in the city, you remember those bus stops? Like the Metro bus back in. Man, he jumped up and he grabbed the top. He was like, yeah, beating on his chest. This is how I can jump. So I was like, man, typical 14-year-old filled with testosterone, no thinking. And man, I jump up and I have a ring on, and I grab the top of the bus stop, and then boom, guess what happens? Pulls my skin completely off and leaves my hand just like this. Boom. So this is the result of a 14-year-old wearing a ring when mom said, do not go outside. And I heckled her and bothered her for probably 2 hours to the point where she was just like, just get out of the house because you're getting on my nerves. And within 5 minutes, I was screaming, banging on the door. And I literally had bones sticking out of here that you can bend just like this. And man, my entire finger.
How old were you?
I was 14 years old when this happened. And next thing you know, I'm banging on my neighbor's door because I know my mom's going to kill me if I go home. So now I'm going to have a lost finger and I'm going to be dead. So I'm like, I'm not going home. My mom is going to just put me in a casket. So I was like, let me go to my neighbor's house. So I went to the neighbor's house. I'm banging on the door. They're trying to get me to the sink. I'm like, I don't need to go to the sink. I need to go to the hospital. My finger is gone. Wow. So I show up at the hospital. My poor neighbor's panicking, driving me to the hospital. My buddy shows up. He's got my middle finger in a Ziploc bag on ice. He's like, hey, bro, you left this at the bus stop.
Oh, like, no.
So I'm 14, and I'm sitting there, and the doctor literally says, we got 3 options. I'm like, okay, doc, what is... He's like, well, number 1 is we can give you a prosthetic finger. Number 2, we can cut that bone off and just reattach the skin. Number 3 is we can try to reattach it, but it probably won't work because the nerves have stretched so bad. So I'm 14 years old, and if y'all are thinking anything, I know y'all are smart, right? I'm thinking... option number 1, doc, is not quite lining up.
Yeah, you don't...
I'm like, 14 with a prosthetic middle finger? I'm like, are you trying to get me beat up? Are you trying to get me in fights? Walk around with this all day and can't even bend my finger? I know, Can you imagine?
I can't even believe he's...
I know, I'm like, doc, what are you thinking? So I'm like, option 1 is out. Option 3, I don't want to try to go through that and come back to the doc. So go ahead and just cut the bone. And boom, here we go. So that was like one of my first...
I can't believe that at 14, that you had that kind of clarity to make that kind of decision. I'm still thinking I would have still been crying like, talk to me tomorrow. Like, I can't... think about that kind of decision right now.
And I was clear-headed until I saw my mom. And when I saw her, I broke like a little baby because I knew how disappointed she was, and I knew the pain she was carrying in her heart because she didn't want me to go out, and she had that intuition. Y'all know what I'm talking about, that mama's intuition? She had that. And my dad took the ring. He chucked that ring somewhere into the woods so far, it just disappeared. And I felt bad because my parents are awesome and they were trying to protect me from something silly or whatever they felt in their hearts. But I went out and then boom. So that was like one of my first encounters with something tragic in my life.
Yeah.
Where I had this dream and now I'm on the basketball court with this bandage on my hand, this dream to play in the NBA, trying to shoot jumpers. And it's like, I'm getting laughed at and I didn't care. I was like, I'm still going to come out here and ball. So I still was able to do everything. I became ambidextrous. I started to learn to use my left hand and it just increased my skill set. So now it didn't mean I was going to be good enough to go to the NBA. 6'1", about 220 pounds. I'm built more like a linebacker than a point guard. Okay. So I was on the basketball court banging guys around and my basketball coach said, Mondo, listen, bro, you're not going to make it, man. I'm sorry, we got to cut you this year. Oh. So I got cut in high school and I was so upset about it. I just went to start wrestling. I was like, okay, you don't want to let me play basketball? I'm going to go slam some cats.
Right.
Let's go. Sign me up.
That's good. I mean, that was a pretty quick bounce back. It's like, okay, let's move on.
So we got on the wrestling mat. I learned how to wrestle, got in there, and man, next thing you know, that tragedy of losing my finger actually wound up turning into something else that I could use that would take me to a whole different level in my life, and I had no idea about it.
Wow.
So my second year, my first year I was just really learning wrestling, and then my second year I wound up winning the district championship and became the district champion, and then I also became a junior Olympian.
Wow.
And that was only 2 years of wrestling. And the cool thing is subsequently it helped me in football. So now I'm a much better football player because I know how to leverage and I know how to use my body weight and everything that I learned. And next thing you know, I wound up with a full scholarship to college at the University of Delaware for football. And I wound up graduating from...
I'm surprised you didn't get any wrestling scholarships.
Yeah, I didn't want to. So my senior year, I didn't wrestle because it was just really strenuous and really stressful on the body. And I respect all you guys out there that are wrestlers, man, jiu-jitsu, MMA, all that. For me, I didn't feel like that was the route for me because it was just so strenuous with the dieting and having to fast and cut weight and all that. And I didn't really want to live under that kind of stress. Yeah. So I just chose to continue to go with football, and I had a duffel bag full of offers and letters and scholarship interests. So I chose to go that route, and it worked out because I wound up going to a winning team. In high school, our team was so horrible. We went 0-10 3 years in a row. Oh, we couldn't win a game to save our lives. I said, Coach, just put the cheerleaders in because this is not working.
This ain't working.
Yeah, it's just not working.
But you kept coming back. I mean,
I remember coming home one day being so frustrated because we had gotten beaten by Hampton University. It was Hampton High School, not Hampton University. Hampton High School. I remember they had Ronald Curry. Ronald Curry was like a man amongst boys. He was 6'2", 220 pounds in high school. Wow. The dude was huge.
That's a big boy.
Yeah, so he was an All-American in basketball, All-American in football. This dude is like the dominant athlete of the day. Mm-hmm. And I remember he was playing quarterback. He probably scored 5 or 6 touchdowns on us, running, passing. It was just horrible, man. We were getting smashed. The score at the end of the game was 88-0. We couldn't even kick a field goal. I thought, what am I doing out here?
I went home. Seen a score like that before.
Oh my God, it was so bad. They put up 2 8s on the board. Like, can they go up in? So we get home. I told my mom, I said, I'm done. I quit. I'm not playing football anymore. This sucks. There's 10 other guys on the field. We can't win a game to save our lives. I'm out. She was like, I want you to go do one thing. Go in that bathroom in the house with your dirty pimple face and look in the mirror. And I want you to ask yourself one question. When you go up to that mirror, I want you to ask yourself, did you do your best? And be honest with yourself. So guess what I did? I went in the house, got in the mirror. I looked into my eyeballs and I said, did you do your best? And when I stared into my own pupils, I couldn't lie to myself. And some of y'all might need to do that because you're thinking about quitting.
You didn't feel like you did your best?
I looked in the mirror, and when I looked into that mirror and I looked into my own eyes, I searched my own soul. There's something really, really intimate about that. And I thought to myself,
It's one of them questions you can't hide behind.
You can't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
You can't deceive yourself. And I watched my own eyes dilate, and I searched my soul. I took a deep breath. I listened, and I was like, yeah, man, I literally gave everything to be my best in this moment. And when I came out of the bathroom, I said, yeah, I did. She was like, okay, then continue showing up. There's 10 other guys on that team that you're not responsible for, but you can lead by example. And if you continue to do that, it will pay off for you.
Wow.
And lo and behold, mama's wisdom was right, because we didn't go to the championship the next year. We didn't even make it to the playoffs. We only won 4 games, which after 3 years of not winning any was a big accomplishment for us.
Yeah.
And wound up getting a full scholarship to college and being one of the first athletes out of my high school to get a full scholarship to college.
And what about even your family? Were you one of the first ones in your family to get a scholarship?
Yeah. We have quite a few that have gotten it now, but one of the first ones in the family to do so. But again, you're looking at something that was a tragedy. And I could have just quit. I could have just said, well, I can't do anything. I don't have a finger. But it was like, nah, what can we do?
Yeah.
The question is, what can I do? How can I do it? As opposed to, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Or I won't do it. So fast forward from there, and wound up being a junior at the University of Delaware on full scholarship. And I remember it was just like yesterday, stepping out onto the field, Chattanooga, Tennessee against Colgate in the national championship with some of the best players that I've ever played with in my life.
Wow.
And it was halftime, and we were winning, and the coach couldn't contain us in the locker room. We were so excited. We were so pumped. We were so juiced up, like just ready to go take this thing. And it was the exact opposite of everything I experienced in high school. We had great coaches. We had great people on that team. But we were a new team. We just didn't have that time to build that culture.
Yeah.
So it came down to a leadership lesson of realizing that there's momentum when you're connected.
Yeah.
And we were connected as a team. And we came out and we won that game 40-0.
Wow.
And I knew how it felt to be the team with the 0. But this time we were on the opposite side. And I was so grateful for that. So that opened up some doors. And
but somebody might be listening to this and saying, oh, that's great. That's stuff that happened in high school and when you were younger, 14 years old. I'm a grown up. I'm an adult right now. Like, tell me about something in your adulthood that is going to help me.
Absolutely. So fast forward past winning the championship, the conference championship the next year, and I have a dream in my heart. I feel like my purpose is to go play in the NFL. And now that dream has come to pass when I signed on the dotted line with the New York Jets as an undrafted free agent.
Wow.
And now I'm under the night lights against the Minnesota Vikings. And I hear the raving fans cheers filling the entire stadium. The whistle is blown, the ball is kicked, and we're running down the field full tilt with adrenaline surging through our veins, and we approach the opposing team. Bam! Everything goes black. I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Like, why is my knee wobbly like this? Why does my leg feel like a wet noodle? What is going on? And they put me on a little golf cart, take me back to the training room. And they're like, Mondo, we have good news and bad news. Which one do you want first? And I said, give me the bad news. Bad news is you tore your ACL.
Oh, man.
You're out for at least 18 months. I'm like, I'm like, what about my beautiful wife? What about our daughter that we just had? What about all the people that believed in me?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Am I going to be able to recover? What does this mean for my career? All those thoughts are running through my mind. And I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to recover? They're like, you got to do this and that. And I'm like, okay, so I start this, I do that. I'm up early, I'm up late. I'm doing ibuprofen, I'm doing ice baths. I do the surgery. 18 months later, I'm back on the field, ready to go. Practice. My position gets moved from linebacker to safety now. So now I'm in a position I've never played before, competing against the top 1% athletes in the world that have been doing this their whole life. And I've never even played this position. And I'm breaking on the ball. I'm running down the field and pow! I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me right now. And I'm hobbling on the field trying to play it off.
I mean, is this typical of like?
This happens all the time, all the time. And I had gone through my
injury after injury like that.
I have gone through my whole career with no injuries, no major injuries at all. And now, when it matters the most, I'm injured the most.
All of a sudden,
it's like, what is happening? So I'm in a position now where I don't want to tell the coach that I've gotten hurt. I know it's bad because I can feel the pain, but I'm playing through the pain. And he's like, Mondo, why are you running like that? And I remember yelling to the coach, like, Coach, I'm good. And he just kind of gave me this look. And I knew when he gave me that look, that's when the enemy whispered in my ear and said, NFL for you means not for long.
Oh, no.
It's over. And I got to the locker room and I took off my cleat, I took off my sock, and my ankle literally swelled to the size of my thigh.
So in that moment, I mean, did you feel like this is it? This is definitely.
I looked into the coach's eyes. I could see that it was just like, it's gone. This is it. It's done. And I felt like I was pinned to the mat watching my dreams go down the drain. So to answer your question, when you think about that and you're saying to yourself, yeah, I understand what it feels like to have my dreams go down the drain.
Yeah.
I lost a job. I got fired. I got, the divorce happened. One of my children, this happened to one of my kids, such and such died. I understand what that feels like to watch that dream go down the drain. That's how I felt. And I had spent a good portion of my entire childhood nurturing this dream. So what do you do when it seems like your dream has been shattered by disappointment?
Yeah.
And I felt like the Lord spoke to me. What you do is you seek God. You seek the true inspiration for his purpose for your life. And he said, Mondo, NFL for you doesn't mean not for long.
That's the truth.
It means newfound life.
Wow.
That's what it means. Now you get to go step into your true destiny and help others take their tragedy and turn it into triumph. That's what you get to truly do.
When you felt like the Lord had spoke that to your heart, did you know what this whole newfound life meant for you? Or now you can step into your true destiny? Like, did you have any idea in that moment what that was going to look like?
I didn't, but I knew it was a matter of pastoring people. Mm-hmm. It was a matter of helping people step into their purpose.
Yeah.
It was a matter of helping people find their destiny and helping people get into alignment for their assignment. Mm-hmm. And I believe that all of that is happening through the vein of communication.
Yeah.
And through coaching and through speaking and pastoring people.
Now, how did you know the difference between the truth and the lie, like in regards to just what you felt in your heart and just even that internal dialogue you were having with yourself? If the enemy is saying this and the Lord is saying this, like how did you know?
Well, here's one of the indications that God is speaking to you. You'll have peace.
Yeah.
And when the NFL thing happened and the Lord said, it means newfound life, it immediately brought me peace. And even though it was a hard situation, it brought me joy. It brought me energy. It brought me excitement about my future. It brought me faith. Yeah. And I feel like when many of us go through hardship in life, we find ourselves living in the pain and the condemnation of the enemy.
Yeah.
And I was there for too long.
Tell me about that. What?
I allowed myself to stay there too long, and it affected my identity in terms of how I saw myself. It made me feel depressed. It made me feel like I didn't have a purpose on the earth. It made me feel like I missed my calling, like I messed up, and I failed. And I believe that many of us are living under those types of conditions way too long.
Yeah.
Because there's power on the other side of your purpose. But we got to have the courage to step into it. And when we lean into the vulnerability of that pain, it therefore becomes our platform.
Wow. Now, once you got that revelation, would you say that then things just became smooth sailing? It became easy for you?
No, I don't think so at all. But it gave me the power, it gave me the courage and the strength to press through the adversity. And the world we live in is going to bring that.
Yeah.
No matter what. Day in and day out. We're going to all experience adversity. We're going to all experience troubles. The times that we live in are challenging times. But when we have the faith, when we have the hope, when we have the purpose living and breathing on the inside of us, it gives us everything we need to press through those challenging times. And I feel like when we can tap into that purpose, the pain dissipates. Wow. And that's what we have to find. And that's why it's so critical to live life on purpose. Wow. Because if you don't have a vision for your life, somebody else will give you one.
Yeah. But it seemed like when you were, playing football, you felt like that was your vision. That was, what you were supposed to be doing.
And that's a great point that you bring up, because I believe it was as well. And I think sometimes in life we get so caught up on purpose that we miss the opportunity to realize that our purpose could be one thing in a season and it could change to a different thing in another season.
Yeah.
Just like a tree has a different purpose in the spring than it does in the fall.
Right.
In the fall, the purpose of that tree is to let those leaves fall to the ground. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be biodegradable. They're going to disintegrate. They're going to help fertilize the soil. Mm-hmm. That tree's going to get a chance to rest. Yeah. And in the spring, it's time to produce. The purpose of that tree is to produce fruit. Mm-hmm. So the purpose changes based on the season. Gotcha. In Ecclesiastes 3, it said there's a time and a season for everything under the sun. Mm. So I think if we can recognize that there's a time and season for every purpose under heaven in our lives, then we'll find a lot more joy and contentment in the season that we're currently in.
That's a good one. Joy and contentment. Yeah.
Because it's so easy to think, oh, I can't wait to have a baby. I can't wait to have a baby if you just got married.
Right.
As soon as you get married.
The next thing, right?
Yeah. All right, we married. Now we got to hurry up. Before you at the aisle saying I do, and they're like, when y'all having kids? When you going to have a baby? And it's like, can a brother just get down the aisle? Can we go on our honeymoon first, please?
Right.
And now, you know, there's all these expectations. So boom, you step into that purpose and now you have a kid and you're not sleeping at night, right?
And then you're like, I can't wait till
oh my God.
They're walking.
Yeah, I can't wait till they get in school. I can't wait to send them to school. You send them to school. Oh, I can't wait till they get out the house.
Yeah.
So when they get out the house, oh, I can't wait to they get married. I can't wait to get some grandkids. Where my grandkids at? Now we put it on them. You see what I'm saying? And it just never stops.
It never stops.
And boom, it's like now you look up and you're gray.
Yeah.
Your life has passed before you.
Before you.
And you're wondering, what did I do with my life? Wow. We missed the purpose in every season. So my hope is that this podcast would inspire you to recognize that in the midst of your pain, it can be transformed into your platform. You have to be vulnerable enough to let your vulnerability become your victory.
That's good.
And then we can all walk into the fullness of our destiny.
Yes. I love it. Awesome. That was so amazing. Thank you for sharing your story. And I know there's even like a second part to that. You know, we'll have to get to that another time. But I am so just encouraged right now. I really am. Even as your wife and having lived through a lot of what you were talking about, it's just something different about hearing it out loud. Because sometimes I think we can be naive to our own stories or think, you know, that person's story is more inspiring. But then when you're able to replay your own story, like I was in a lot of what you were saying, and I'm thinking to myself like, wow, like God did that. Mm-hmm. Like God brought us through so much.
That's right.
And just having that time to reflect and just to think about it, it gives you, I think, more of a confidence and a rest and a peace in knowing like God has me.
That's right. He really has me. That's right.
You know?
Yes. And we just want you to know that no matter what season you're in, God has you. And we're not telling you that it's going to be easy. We're not telling you that everything's going to be peachy and just fine. We experience hardship in this life. Yeah. And that's the nature of the world we live in. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, God has you right here in the palm of his hand. And he's not going to let you go. So you hang on to him and you'll never, ever be disappointed.
Now, I do need to ask you this one question though, because you talked about playing with the NFL, and this seems to be like the epitome of like happiness and joy. Thinking about where you were headed and what you were in and the joy that you had in that moment, but then how the Lord redirected you into what you call today as like your true calling. Does that joy compare? Like, when you're in the Lord's will, when you're following your calling and you're following purpose, like, does it bring a different type of joy, a different type of peace, a different type of contentment?
I think it does, and it does compare, but it's actually better.
It's better.
And the reason why is because I'm doing what I feel like I was born to do. So when you think about a bird effortlessly flies in the air because that's what it was born to do.
Right.
So it was born with the capacity to fly because innately that's what it was created to do.
Right.
Therefore, when a bird flies, it's fulfilling its purpose.
Yeah.
Same thing with a fish. When you see a fish swimming in the sea, guess what? It was born innately to swim. So it's effortless. It's like watching Mozart, play music. It's like watching Beethoven. It's like, looking at someone operating in the fullness of what they were created to do. And it's just this beautiful symphony of God's majesty coming together in the form of a human being doing what they were purposed to do on the earth. Wow. And I feel like doing what we're doing now and being able to help people in this capacity is like a bird flying in the air. It's like a fish swimming in the sea. And I feel like a kid in a candy store because I feel like I'm doing what God innately built me to do. Wow. And nothing can actually compare to that. So it's better than any type of counterfeit that could be presented in my life. And I think when all of us can step into what we were truly born to do, there is no room for comparison. Yeah. There's no room for low self-esteem. There's no room for depression. Why? Because you're doing what you were created to do. What you were created to do. Not somebody else, not what looks sexy on somebody else, not what looks good to this person, not because this person's a millionaire, not because that person has this car or this house, but because you were created to do that. And I feel like when each of us tap into that space, now we're truly doing and solving the problem that God put us on the earth to solve. And to me, that's a huge win. That's a win. Each of us were born with the solution to someone else's problem. When we step into that destiny, we can each change the world. Collectively. Wow. So what are we waiting for? Yeah, what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. Let's go. Right? Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was a joy and a pleasure to have you and for you to share the story. Thank you for having me on our podcast. On our podcast. Yeah. Yes. Well, I look forward to interviewing you next. Alrighty then. And it's going to be amazing. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in with us on the Inspiring Purpose podcast. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. And we look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thank you, bud. Thank you. So these are just different. Okay, I see what this is. These are just different like little sound effects you can add into the podcast. Right. As somebody's talking, you say something funny and then it's something like, bro, I don't know about that. Did she just really do that? You see what I'm saying? That's what that's for. So I don't think these are like intro songs. Okay, when I first logged onto it, I was able to do an intro a long time ago, but I don't know if you can or not now. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's nice. That's perfect. right?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so on that, that's better than the laptop.
Make sure your mic is closer to your mouth.
Oh, you want to check my voice?
Yeah, make sure it's closer to your mouth. Yeah, like right here.
What's that?
I guess it should be good as long as you're not doing too much moving. Yo, are you ready?
Yo, I was born ready. Hold on, let me hit this. Oh, not this. Welcome to the Inspiring Purpose Podcast. You ready?
Yeah.
You gonna close the door?
Good gracious. Cameraman, door closer.
We starting again.
What's up?
We starting over. Hey, I'm looking at you. What's up?
Oh my goodness gracious.
How you doing?
See, that's why you got 10 kids.
That's exactly why you got 10 kids. She the problem. She the one, y'all. Y'all think it's me. I'm telling you, it's her. See? Can't get a good rap around here. You ready to do this, babe?
All right, let's get it.
Let's go.
All right.
All right, come here.